Alright, so it has finally happened. Sony officially did it, and now with the Sony Spider-Man universe that is now officially dead, especially as there'll be no more spin-off movies, especially after Kraven, and after all, we can all say this.
Good riddance.
With this news that has come up and about, we need to talk and break down on what's going to happen to the future of Spider-Man, especially with Sony, and if they could ever give up the IP, get the rights back over to Marvel. And that's what I'm doing for you guys in this video, is go over everything that we know, especially for the Sony Spider-Man universe that would become what it was, and talk about what it means for the future of Spider-Man and all of the characters as well. And so if you're new, then be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so it's on any future bits. But now let's talk about this. With the Sony Spider-Man spin-off universe, and that was essentially Sony's way of building out a cinematic universe, and that is turning these Spider-Man villains into anti-heroes, especially with these films, as it started with Venom from 2018, then along came with Madam Web, Morbius, and especially with the upcoming Kraven the Hunter that is coming out this weekend. And you know that they stated with Kraven the Hunter will mark the final movie in the spin-off universe, and there'll be no more spin-offs, especially as for now. And even for what this means is that it's clearly dead in the water, because it was never a success from the start. But even though I like the first Venom, I thought it's like a solid, very entertaining, generic movie. But especially with the Venom Let There Be Carnage, it teased like a Venom versus Spider-Man showdown that never happened. And even what Sony was planning on doing, it just ended up being a total mess, because even if you remember with Morbius, that was supposed to come out before Spider-Man No Way Home, that made things like so confusing as heck for fans. And even though with that post-credit scene, it was like teasing like a Sinister Six that never happened, but even though that was mainly a setup at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but now, like, even with Sony that really wants to pull the plug on this, and they really want, and I think they have responded to the fans of what they thought of their last couple of movies, and now with these characters that Sony have attempted to build up, but they turn these villains into anti-heroes, which just like so bad. And with Kraven coming out, it looks to be good, but you know it has an R rating with a bloody violent tone, and that movie is set up for failure as well. But even with Venom The Last Dance, that marked the last movie in the trilogy, that did numbers at the box office, but even though I didn't love it that much, it was a solid conclusion. But specifically with this whole universe that Sony wants to do their own thing without Marvel Studios' help or Kevin Feige. But I think what Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige would do with the IP of Spider-Man. But I think with fans have been asking, is it about damn time for Sony to give up the rights to Spider-Man and give it back to Marvel? But because I think like the answer to that is probably going to be not for a while. But I mean, I just hope that it means something, because even with Sony that has made these ridiculous movies, and this is especially wanting to do something with the IP, because even with Spider-Man, that is one of the most popular characters in the Marvel universe right now, especially in video games, television, movies, and especially with all the Spider-Man characters, and for what it is set out to be. And I think what Sony wanted to do with the IP and create this whole universe of these characters that have connections and tie into Spider-Man, but without making these movies, without including Spider-Man himself, and those movies all set out for failure. And now, with the question that I want to state next, is what happens now to the future of Spider-Man, especially with the IP. Well, I think what Sony is trying to focus on now, what their aim to focus is on a Spider-Man 4 Beyond the Spider-Verse, that's supposed to be the conclusion for the animated Spider-Verse trilogy with Miles Morales, and the upcoming Spider-Man Noir series with Nicolas Cage for Prime Video. They should definitely focus more on those projects, but I think with the Sony Spider-Man Villain spin-off, or whatever the heck it's called, I think that they should just leave it alone, and that universe is basically done with. And I think like it was not great from the start, and even for what Sony was trying to tease it up to be, and also they teased Nola to be this big bad of the Sony Spider-Man villain spin-off universe. They teased that in Venom: The Last Dance, especially with all these characters they have gathered out that they were gonna go up against Noel, form like a Sinister Six or make a ridiculous movie out of it. It was gonna possibly lead for failure, and I mean, Sony has made it very confusing or have not made sense with this universe. What the characters have built up inside of it. And plus, I love the character of Spider-Man because, especially MCU Homecoming trilogy with Tom Holland, and for the way that Sony and Marvel Studios were able to work together with that IP, and now we're getting Spider-Man 4. And even back in like 2019, when Sony and Disney were like trying to work out a deal to let Spider-Man remain in the MCU that line for like another trilogy, and I think we are going to be seeing Tom Holland's Spider-Man a lot more in the MCU now. But I think since Sony has to now, it's just like focus on the character of Spider-Man. Like, and if they want to like adapt more characters, because especially with those potential movies and that they have teased or like announced at events like years ago, like for example Alberto, that movie never came to fruition. But especially if Sony really wants to continue this, or if they want to pull the plug on this completely, I'm pretty sure that Marvel can cook up a definite better product with these characters, because Marvel Studios has been doing it, especially from the Infinity Saga all the way up until now. But I think like they should like just focus on the character with these villain characters that they try to make a movie out of and not include Spider-Man in it, because Sony has hold on to that IP for a long time, especially with all the Spider-Man related characters that Sony attempted to build up. Like, especially with Morbius, which I never liked, and I don't look back on it, and even though it was choppy and so messy, and it made like a garbage product, and even with Madam Web, which I clearly did not like either, because even with the actresses behind the scenes, I admit that they didn't like making the movie, and that movie was so ridiculous, especially with the villain, and even that they made a whole Venom trilogy. But even though I suspected that they wanted to make that Venom like a one and done movie with the character, but it said that they teased it with the Venom character, but even though it was solid and generic. But even with Kraven the Hunter, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing, by the way, even with Kraven the Hunter, who is a Spider-Man villain, and I mean, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson is a good question in that role, but just with the character itself and the way that's going to be explored. But I'm expecting a good time out of this, but even though it's supposed to be bad, but I just hope that it's a good enough time for the holiday season. Yeah, so I mean, with my final thoughts to wrap up this whole video, is that I'm glad that Sony is no longer making these movies, like no more spin-offs after Kraven, and I think they are being serious this time. And if they want to sell the rights to Spider-Man back over to Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, I bet their butt they have to do it, because I think once again, like Marvel can make a much better universe with these characters, or build up something from here on out. I mean, a good riddance to the Sony Spider-Man villain universe. I mean, it was good while it lasted, but it was never really a successful universe. But even though I did like the Venom movies, but with the other character movies, not so much. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know in the comments below, and what your thoughts on this news, especially with the Sony Spider-Man universe that is no more, and just what your thoughts on this whole thing. Just let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn notifications about future videos. Also follow all my social medias over to the link down below. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.